Hey, what up? It's Quinn Chess, and today we are here to play a fun game of chess. Having fun while playing is really important because it activates all of those important neuronal connections that you need to get better as you gain more experience. So, our opponent here wants to get into the Gruenfeld defense, but I don't like playing that opening. So, what I'm going to do is just play e3, solidify my position, castle, and be very, very chill. Be super, super chill. And let's see what my opponent is going to do as a response. What is he going to cook up for us today? Hope you guys are having a great day. I went out to the downtown area of my city to take some photos for Instagram earlier because, as I have mentioned on this channel, I am flying out of town soon. So I had to use that last opportunity to get some pics before I leave. And I did that today. It was very, very cold out, and I there were some photos where I wanted to take my jacket off just to switch up my outfit a little bit, and I was freezing. Hopefully, I don't catch a cold. I haven't been sick in over 6 years because I have really good proprioception. As soon as I even feel myself getting sick, I just go for a hibernation, take some vitamin C. I recently was recommended to take some zinc as well, and just ride it out and avoid getting sick for 2, 3 weeks by just taking that 1 or 2 days off, basically. So maybe I'll have to do that. We'll see how I feel tomorrow. But tomorrow I'm going to a waterfall, uh, and that's going to be really intense. The Great Niagara Falls, as it were called. So we're just playing some opening moves right now and not sweating it too much, not trying to spend too much time on these moves, and instead trying to stay up on time. And as long as we get a pretty even position out of the opening, we're pretty happy with that. And now with this exchange in the center, our opponent is either going to have an isolated d pawn or hanging pawns, which we like. So now he's got these hanging pawns in the center. We're just going to simply line up our rooks to attack these pawns, and we're going to challenge him to hold on to his material um, in this position. So now he's gone to knight to b6. And let's think about a way that we can potentially pick off a couple of these pawns right now. We can put our knight on b5 and hit the pawn on c5 and then bring our bishop to a3. But we want to be careful and not have our knight get trapped. So let's keep that in mind as well. Yeah, let's play knight b5 and see how he decides to defend. If he's not careful, I could maybe even take on a7 and force him to lose some material there. Just setting a little bit of a trap if he goes to rook c8. So he's got to think about this for a moment. So we just uncover this attack. We're also contending for the c4 square because we don't really want him to be able to advance his pawns. We want to keep them stuck on the square that they are at by controlling the square in front of them, and we're doing that with a couple of our pieces already. But this knight needs a better permanent location to go to. So we have to think about where do we want to place our pony. We can place him, if he's on c3, the problem is he's blocking this rook. So maybe a3 would even be a better square. But maybe we want to push the pawn to a4 first, although that leaves us with a backwards b pawn, so we don't really like that. The d5 pawn is very solidly defended right now. It's got two defenders. Okay, so he decides to push, and that was the question I had. I'm going to actually bring this knight back to a3, and it can even go to c2 at some point and contend the d4 square. So this pawn is twice defended, and this pawn is only once defended, and he just added another defender by putting his queen on e7. So we don't have an immediate way to win these pawns, and maybe getting a knight on this square would be good. Does that allow him to push? We will see. Let's just add another attacker to c5. See what he decides to do in response to that. He is spending a lot of time thinking about these moves, which is good. We want to get him to be spending that time um, and going up on time as a result. But we don't want to move so fast that we're blundering. And let's see if we can drum up some additional play elsewhere as well. Perhaps playing the queen to d3 and hitting this pawn. Just trying to optimize the positioning of our pieces, but we don't want to hang the bishop either. I'm just going to slide the queen back to e2 and see if he's paying attention. This square is pretty well covered, so we could even opt to double up the rook on the c file, but that might be just a marginal improvement. Okay, so he's moving his queen over to defend, and that means this square is not currently being guarded. So let's go ahead and hop into this square with a knight, and then with the idea of maybe bring the knight back to d3 to continue attacking the c5 pawn. We can tentatively set that as a target in this position. So he's putting his rook on e8. We're just going to maneuver around, poke him, annoy him, and see if anything budges, or see if we can just get him to spend that extra time on the position. I also like the idea of playing queen to f3 and hitting this knight on f6, poking that a little bit, and seeing if we can jostle him into a blunder. But so far, our plan has been working. So far, he is spending a lot of time thinking about his moves. And we're up almost 2 minutes now on the clock. And if there's an even more advanced tactic that we can cook up, all the better. So right now, the c5 pawn is attacked twice. He's going to have to find a way to defend it. And this knight, again, is the piece that we have to be worried about in terms of where it's going to go. We don't really have any good squares left in our position. They're all occupied by our pieces, or, it would be impeding a piece. So we have to be careful with where we want to place things. Okay, so he goes knight d7. This is a pretty useful move. Let's go queen f3. So knight d7 is a good move because it defends this knight, and it also defends this pawn. But the thing that it also does is that it's no longer defending this pawn. So we can think about adding some attackers to that square and see if we can pick that off. Maybe by moving this knight to f4, we can uncover an attack, a triple attack on the d5 pawn, just continuing to test our opponent. I think that, in fact, will be my next move, and he's only got a minute left in this position. So he may not be used to playing this structure, and that's definitely something we want to notice about our opponent. If he's not used to playing with hanging pawns, then we need to keep challenging him and forcing him to find the defensive resources to keep his position together. He's also got this isolated pawn on a6, while our position is more healthy. Okay, so he does go there. He's just playing a waiting move at this point, or he's bringing his queen back to a square where it's defended by his rooks. So that's the main idea here. I think maybe he just wasn't able to find a better move. So he's playing something that's just kind of passing the turn. Okay, so he does bring the knight back to d6. Let's go ahead and maneuver this knight, maybe to c3 to continue the attack on d5. Let's see what our opponent decides to do here. He's only got 30 seconds left. Maybe pushing the pawn to c4 now could even be an option for him, because after b takes this way, he's got the pawn adequately defended. So he's opting to push the pawn. And now this creates a hole on b5 that we can take advantage of. Then this knight can also hop into d6 at some point. So he's got to be real careful about that. And now we have 4 attackers on the d5 square. Okay, so he's covering that. But let's hop into b5 now and take advantage of this opportunity that we have with his pawn having moved to a5. He's pushing the pawn again. Okay, interesting. Very, very interesting. Probably, I think we don't want to trade. So that's why I'm thinking about pushing this pawn. But there might not be much that we can get from it. So why don't we just ignore that pawn and do something else entirely, such as uncover a double attack. So we got this attack and we got this attack. So he does take, and I think that's going to be a mistake because it hangs his knight. So now we get a free knight. And he's got very, very low amounts of time to move. Is he going to flag? Oh, I thought he was going to flag. Whew. I was getting nervous for our opponent. And now he also hangs this knight. But he's got maybe a skewer after that, although we can just take on c5. And the promotion is not an issue because we have that square covered. So let's go ahead and take this knight as well and see what he decides to do after that. He pushes the pawn to c4, okay? We want to be careful and not drop material. Think about where we want to put this knight. Is it safe to put it on b4? Or do we want to move it maybe out of the way and go to like f4 or something? This move is also interesting because it hits the pawn on f7. Definitely want to play a move that kind of throws him off balance, if I can. Yeah, let's play the more active move here. Put the knight on e5. He's got to get some time back on the clock. Okay, so he does go there, which is fine. We can just pull our queen back. Let's see where we want to go with it. Let's go to c6 and propose a queen trade. Oh, and our opponent is just going to flag. Wow. All right, great game there. Let's go ahead and analyze this. Sorry, I got really focused towards the end there because I really wanted to think about that. Wow, we played at 85% accuracy at a 1950 rating, so strong performance. And let's start the review. So the opening was completely fine. We liked e3 to avoid the Grunfeld defense. And we're just holding steady here, manipulated the position so that the opponent had the hanging pawns, which is obviously theoretically playable, but comes with certain difficulties. And it says queen a8 was a mistake. I felt like that move was a little bit just kind of a waiting move. He wasn't really playing the objective board position, perhaps. He just didn't want to run out of time. And better would be to play knight to e4 and offer an exchange of bishops. Sorry about that. So I guess the computer likes that a little bit better. I think that would have made the position continually still very playable for us. And it says that we missed an opportunity to win a pawn. Oh, yes, we did. The pawn on c5 was hanging. Or was it? That's weird. It's the knight and the rook are defending it, but it says that we could have won that pawn. Let's see what it was recommending. So we take the pawn. And after takes, rook takes. I see. After knight takes, we have knight bishop takes f6 here to get the knight back. So a deflection tactic that gets the knight to vacate the defense of this f6 knight. Okay, that was a nice move that we missed. So we were putting pressure on the opponent, and we were just waiting for him to have this moment of crumbling. And that was an example of a moment where he could have crumbled. So we Should have paid a little bit more attention there. That's a tactic that I'll definitely study. Here it says we have another opportunity to win a pawn. Bishop takes. Here, um, bishop takes, and then let me guess, knight to d5. Knight to d5, and then after knight takes, we can take here with the rook. I see. And the bishop is also hanging on f6. Okay, so it was a remove the defender tactic. Right now he's got 3 defenders. We have 3 attackers, but we can take one of the defenders with our bishop. And over here, knight to d3, also an opportunity to win a pawn that we missed on. And this time, again, removing the defender on f6. Okay. And finally here, we had him running low on time, and we were able to win the knight, won another knight, and just good execution at the end to win the game. Okay, awesome. So I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this episode. We had a great handle on the opening and the middle game, where we were able to rely on these basic principles of playing against hanging pawns to drive our opponent down the clock, where he finally blundered. But even before he blundered, there were opportunities that we had to win the pawn through remove the defender and deflection tactics. I wasn't thinking super hard about the position because I felt like just maintaining a equality was good enough to continue to build the time pressure advantage. But maybe at certain points, if I had spent another 5, 10, maybe 30 seconds thinking about it, I could have spotted those tactics a little bit better. So I want you guys to take that lesson and see what you can do with it. And go ahead and share your games with me on chess.com if you would like. You can always add me as a friend or send me a message. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I will be continuing to post on a daily basis towards the end of the year as I continue on this road to 2000 journey. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.